They laughed at you, didn't they? Smug, condescending, full of venom. It wasn't just laughter, it was a weapon. Sharp, calculated, designed to cut through your confidence and strip you down to the raw bone of insecurity. You remember it vividly, don't you? The way their eyes sparkled, not with joy, but with cruelty. The way their words wrapped around your dreams, choking them before they even had a chance to breathe. But here's the thing about laughter, it doesn't last forever. It's fleeting. A momentary release of air, a sound that echoes briefly before disappearing. And when it fades, do you know what's left? Still standing, still breathing, still capable of turning every ounce of their mockery into your fuel. Because they didn't just laugh, did they? No, that would have been too kind. They tried to destroy you bit by bit. With every snicker, every dismissive glance, they chipped away at your spirit. They wanted you to believe the lie that you were less, that you were nothing, that you would never rise above the pedestal of mediocrity they placed you on. They weren't content with just doubting you, they needed you to doubt yourself. And for a moment, maybe longer than a moment, you did. You carried their words like a weight on your shoulders, dragging it with you everywhere you went, feeling the burden of their judgment in every step. But let me ask you something. How long are you going to let their laughter echo in your mind? How long will you give their words power over you? Because here's the truth, they never wanted you to know their laughter wasn't about you. It was about them, their fear, their insecurity, their desperate need to project their limitations onto someone else. They laughed because they couldn't comprehend what you're capable of. They laughed because deep down they knew they couldn't hold a candle to the fire inside you. This isn't just a comeback, it's a reckoning. This is the moment you stop letting their laughter define you. This is where you take all the pain, all the doubt, all the anger, and you turn it into something unstoppable. You don't just rise, you rise so high they can't even see you anymore. They tried to bury you under the weight of their ridicule, but they didn't realize you were a seed. And now, you're about to grow into something so extraordinary, they won't just stop laughing, they'll be left speechless. Let's get one thing straight, this isn't about revenge. This isn't about proving them wrong. This is about proving yourself right. It's about reclaiming the narrative they tried to write for you. It's about standing tall, looking in the mirror, and knowing that their laughter has no power here anymore. This is your story, not theirs. They're just background noise, fading into irrelevance as you step into the light. So here's my challenge to you, stop listening to the echoes of their doubt. Let their laughter be the anthem of your ascent. Let it remind you of the fire they tried to extinguish and the strength you found in the ashes. They thought they could break you, but they only taught you how to rebuild. And when they see what you've become, they won't laugh. They won't mock. They'll stand in awe, realizing too late that the person they underestimated was the one they should have feared all along. This is your moment, not theirs. So what are you going to do with it? You've been walking through life carrying invisible chains, haven't you? Shackles forged not of steel but of doubt and despair. Chains you didn't choose, but somehow they found you wrapped around your dreams, your ambition, your very sense of self. Day after day, you've dragged those chains through the mud they threw at you, feeling every ounce of their weight. You wake up with a heaviness in your chest, like the very air around you is conspiring to crush the spark you're trying so desperately to protect. It's exhausting, isn't it? Fighting battles that no one else can see, battles they pretend don't even exist. Because they didn't just doubt you, they dismissed you. They told you to quit before you even started. They looked at your dreams, your passion, your purpose, and they shoved you into corners and called it your place. They said it wasn't possible. They said it wasn't for you. And they said it with such conviction you started to believe them. You started to think, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not enough. And that's where the real damage began, not in their words, but in the way you let those words take root in your soul. You've felt it, haven't you? The sting of rejection, the hollow ache of failure, the bitter taste of betrayal. It's like standing at the edge of a cliff, with the wind screaming in your ears, and feeling a hand at your back not to save you, but to push you. You've trusted people who turned their backs. You've opened your heart, only to have it crushed. You've reached for help, only to find empty hands and cold stares. And through it all, you've heard a voice whispering in your ear, telling you to stop trying, to stop hoping, to stop believing. But that voice, it isn't yours. It never was. Those whispers, those doubts, they're echoes of their ridicule. They're shadows of their insecurities, masquerading as your own thoughts. They planted those seeds in your mind because they knew the power of your belief. They knew that if they could make you question yourself, they'd never have to face the force of what you could become. And now, those voices are in your head, replaying every cruel word, every dismissive laugh, every time you were told you weren't good enough. It's a villain you've been fighting without even realizing it, a relentless, unseen enemy that feeds on your hesitation, your fear, your pain. And yet, despite it all, you're still here. You're still fighting. You've carried those chains, yes, but you haven't let them break you. You've heard their doubts, but you haven't let them silence your dreams. You've been shoved into corners, but you haven't let them define your space. That spark they tried to extinguish, it's still there, buried deep, flickering against the odds. And do you know what that means? It means you're stronger than they ever gave you credit for. It means that even when the world tried to tear you apart, you held onto the pieces. But let's not sugarcoat it, this fight hasn't been easy. There are nights when the silence feels deafening, when the weight of it all feels like it's going to crush you. There are days when you look in the mirror and don't recognize the person staring back. There are moments when you wonder if it's even worth it, if the struggle will ever lead to something better. And those moments, they're the hardest, aren't they? Because it's not just the world doubting you anymore, it's you. It's the voice inside your head, the one that sounds so much like your own, telling you to let go, to give up, to stop pretending you can do this. But here's what you need to understand: that voice is a liar. It's not your voice, it's theirs. It's the sum of every cruel word, every doubting glance, every time they told you that you couldn't. It's the weapon they left behind, the one they hoped you'd turn on yourself. But you don't have to listen to it. You don't have to carry their doubts like a banner of truth, because they don't know you. They don't know your strength, your resilience, your fire. They don't know what you're capable of, and they never did. So let's call this what it is: a battle. A fight between the person they want you to be and the person you're destined to become. A fight between their doubts and your belief. A fight between their ridicule and your resolve. And in this fight, you have a choice. You can keep carrying their chains, letting them weigh you down, letting them define you. Or you can break them, shatter them, leave them in the dirt, where they belong, and rise with the strength of someone who has faced the storm and refused to be broken. Because here's the truth: those chains were never yours to carry. Those doubts were never yours to believe. Those voices were never yours to follow. And the moment you realize that the moment you take back the power they tried to steal is the moment everything changes. You're not here to live their story. You're here to write your own. And trust me when I say this, the ending they thought they'd write for you isn't the one you're going to live. They thought they knew you, but they don't. They thought they broke you, but they didn't. And now it's your turn to show them what happens when the chains fall away. Do you know what happens if you believe them? If you take their doubts, their cruelty, their venom, and make it your truth, you don't go out in a blaze of glory. No, it's far worse than that. You fade, quietly, slowly, piece by piece. You disappear into a shadow of the person you were meant to be. The dreams you once carried so boldly, they wither like leaves in a cruel winter. The fire you nurtured, the one that burned in defiance of their scorn, smolders into ash. And one day, you wake up and realize you've become exactly what they wanted: invisible, silent, defeated. Let's not sugarcoat it. This is the fate waiting for you if you stay stuck. If you let their voices, their laughter, their ridicule anchor you in a pit of doubt. This is what happens if you stop fighting, stop hoping, stop believing. And the scariest part? It doesn't happen all at once. It's a slow unraveling, so subtle you might not even notice it at first. One moment you're putting off a dream for just a little while, the next, you're telling yourself it was never really possible to begin with. And before you know it, that dream isn't just out of reach, it's gone. What if they're right? That's the question that haunts you, isn't it? The one you can't shake, no matter how much you want to. What if you'll never be enough? What if all the effort, all the struggle, all the pain, it's for nothing? That fear, it's a poison. It creeps into your thoughts, infects your confidence, and paralyzes your actions. And it's not just the fear of failing, it's the fear of trying and failing, of putting everything on the line and coming up short. It's the fear of proving them right. And so you hesitate, you shrink, you play small, thinking maybe if you don't stand out, they'll stop laughing. Maybe if you don't try, you can avoid failing. But let me tell you something: staying small won't protect you. Hiding won't save you. Because the truth is, they don't need you to fail, they just need you to stop trying. That's how they win. Not by breaking you outright, but by convincing you to break yourself. If you keep listening to their voices, if you let their doubts define you, here's what your future looks like: your dreams will wither, starved of the belief they need to grow. Your voice, once so full of potential, will go unheard, drowned out by the echoes of their laughter. Your purpose, the very thing that sets your soul on fire, will become a distant memory, buried under layers of regret and self-doubt. And them? They'll win. They'll move on, never realizing the devastation they left behind, never caring that their words became your prison. And you'll be left with the unbearable weight of what if you had tried? What if you had fought back? What if you had believed in yourself instead of believing them? That regret, it's heavier than any chain, more suffocating than any doubt. It's the kind of pain that doesn't fade, the kind that stays with you, whispering of all the things you could have been, all the things you could have done, if only you had taken the chance. So ask yourself, is that the life you want? To fade quietly into the background, to let their voices drown out your own, to live as a shadow of the person you were meant to be. Is that the story you want to tell? Because if you stay stuck, if you let their doubts, their ridicule, their cruelty hold you back, that's exactly what will happen. You'll live a life defined not by your potential, but by their limitations. And here's the hardest truth of all: no one is coming to save you. No one is going to show up and pull you out of the pit you're in. This is your fight, and yours alone. You can't wait for the world to recognize your worth, you have to claim it. You can't wait for their approval, you have to move forward without it. Because every moment you spend waiting, hesitating, doubting, is a moment you'll never get back. And the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to break free. But let me tell you something else. The fact that you're still here, still listening, still holding on to even the smallest sliver of hope, that means something. It means you haven't given up yet. It means there's still a part of you that believes in more, that refuses to fade quietly, that knows you were meant for something greater. That part of you, it's your lifeline. It's the spark that can reignite the fire. But you have to fight for it. You have to protect it. You have to let it grow, no matter how small it feels right now. Because staying stuck isn't just a choice, it's a surrender. It's letting their voices win, letting their doubts take root, letting their laughter become the soundtrack of your life. And you're better than that. You're stronger than that. You've faced too much, survived too much, to let this be your story. So take a good, hard look at the path you're on. Take a good, hard look at where it's leading. And then ask yourself, is this where you want to end up? Or are you ready to fight for something more? This isn't the end, it's the turning point. But the choice is yours. Stay stuck, or start climbing. Fade quietly, or rise defiantly. Let their laughter define you, or let it fuel you. The path forward isn't easy, it's uphill. It's grueling. It's full of challenges you can't even imagine. But it's worth it. Because the alternative, that quiet, pitiful fade, that's not you. That's not your story. And it never will be, as long as you refuse to let it be. So what's it going to be? Here's the thing about their laughter, it's hollow. It might have sounded sharp, piercing, even deafening at times, but strip it down, and it's nothing but empty noise. It wasn't born from truth. It wasn't born from strength. It was born from fear, their fear. Fear of what might happen if you ever realized your power. Because deep down, they know something they'll never admit the moment you wake up. The moment you stand tall and reclaim what's yours, their laughter won't matter anymore. It will fade into the background like a distant echo, irrelevant in the face of what you're about to become. This isn't about escaping the pain, they can't take that from you. It's yours now. But here's the secret: pain isn't your enemy, it's your forge. The fire that melts you will also shape you. Think about it, how are swords made? Not in comfort or ease, but in fire. They are pounded, tempered, and refined until they emerge unbreakable. That's you. Every hardship, every rejection, every mocking laugh, they weren't breaking you, they were reshaping you. You've been in the fire, yes, but you're not burning up. You're transforming. And the person who emerges from the flames won't just survive, they'll thrive. But to see that, to truly feel it, you need to ask yourself some questions. Hard questions. What if they're wrong? Have you ever truly considered that? Have you ever stopped to think that the limits they placed on you aren't real? That the doubts they whispered weren't truth, but poison? What if the person you're meant to be is still waiting to rise? What if, deep inside, that version of you, the powerful, unstoppable version, is still there, waiting for you to let them out? Because here's the truth: they don't want you to see the person you're meant to be has been there all along. They tried to bury it under their doubts, but you can't bury the truth forever. It's time to shift the tone. This isn't despair anymore, this is defiance. Their mockery, it isn't prophecy, it's fuel. Every cruel word, every dismissive laugh, every time they said you couldn't, it's ammunition. It's the firewood that will stoke your flames. Let it fuel you, not destroy you. Let their doubts become the reason you rise, not the reason you fall. Because every time they said you can't, what they really meant was, I'm afraid you will. And now it's time to prove them right to be afraid. Think about the stories you admire, the people who inspire you. Do you think they got there without struggle? Do you think they got there without pain, without people doubting them, without hearing no more times than they could count? They didn't rise in spite of it, they rose because of it. Pain is a catalyst. Doubt is a challenge. Mockery is a dare. And yes, you have everything you need to take it all and turn it into something extraordinary. Here's how it starts: with a decision. Not a grand, sweeping gesture. Not a sudden, magical transformation. Just a simple, quiet decision. The decision to stop letting their voices control your life. The decision to take back the narrative they tried to write for you. The decision to believe just for a moment that they might be wrong about you. Because that moment, that's all it takes. A single spark can light an inferno. A single crack can shatter the strongest walls. And a single choice can rewrite everything. Now, let's make this practical. You're not just sitting in the fire, you're shaping yourself within it. That means every day you choose to rise. Even when it's hard. Even when it's hard. Even when it feels like nothing's changing. Hey, even when their voices are still ringing in your ears, you get up and you fight. You take one step, and then another, and then another. Because resilience isn't about giant leaps, it's about relentless forward motion. It's about refusing to stay down, no matter how many times you fall. And every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to the person you're meant to be. Here's something else to consider: they underestimated you. They thought their laughter would break you. They thought their words would be the end of your story. But what if their underestimation is your greatest advantage? What if the fact that they didn't see your potential is exactly what's going to make your rise so powerful? They don't know what's coming. They don't see the strength you've been building, the fire you've been stoking, the transformation that's been happening behind the scenes. And that's your edge. They'll never see it coming until it's too late. So now, I'll ask you again, what if they're wrong? What if the person you've been doubting, the person you've been holding back, the person you've been hiding is exactly the person the world needs? What if your pain is your power, your scars are your armor, and your struggles are your strength? What if you're not here to fade quietly into the background, but to rise so loudly, so powerfully, that their laughter turns into stunned silence? This isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning. And this time, you're writing it. No more letting their doubts hold the pen. No more letting their laughter set the tone. This is your narrative, and it's time to reclaim it. So let the fire shape you. Let the pain refine you. Let the doubts fuel you. And let their laughter remind you of one simple truth: they didn't know who they were laughing at. But they're about to find out. Now rise. Take back what's yours. This is your moment, your power, your reckoning. And it starts right here, right now. They thought they buried you, didn't they? They looked at your pain, your struggles, your setbacks, and they believed it was the end of your story. But here's what they didn't know: you weren't buried. You were planted. A seed pressed into the earth doesn't die, it begins to grow. And so did you. They didn't understand that the darkness they shoved you into wasn't your grave, it was your starting point. The soil around you wasn't suffocation, it was nourishment. The rain that fell on you wasn't a curse, it was a blessing. And now, as the roots you've grown begin to break through, they're about to see what happens when someone like you rises. Every scar you carry is a badge of survival. Look at them not as marks of your wounds, but as proof that you've healed. Every one of them tells a story, doesn't it? Stories of battles fought, lessons learned, and strength found in the unlikeliest places. You've been through the fire, and you've emerged forged, not broken. And every tear you've shed, they weren't wasted. Those tears were rivers that carried away the doubt, the fear, the pain that tried to hold you down. They cleared the path for growth, for clarity, for power. Your scars and tears are not signs of weakness, they're the proof of your resilience. And now, it's time to claim what's yours. Let me say this as clearly as I can: you don't have to wait for permission to rise. No one is coming to tell you it's your time. No one is going to hand you the life you deserve. You have to take it. You don't need their approval to shine. You don't need their acceptance to move forward. The power has been within you all along, waiting for you to realize it. It's not about their laughter, their doubts, or their words anymore. It's about you. And the moment you understand that is the moment everything changes. So let's ask the questions that matter. Are you going to let them define you? Are you going to let their words hold you? Are you going to keep carrying their doubts as if they were your own? Are you going to rise? Are you going to break through the soil and stretch toward the light? Are you going to show them that the person they underestimated, the person they mocked, is the person they'll never forget? Because that's the choice in front of you, and only you can make it. Look at yourself, really look. The person staring back at you in the mirror is not a victim. It's not someone who needs saving. It's not someone who's defined by what others think or say. It's a fighter, a survivor, a creator of their own destiny. The power you've been searching for has been there all along. It's in your hands, your heart, your soul, and now it's time to use it. Transformation isn't a single moment, it's a process. It's every step you take, every choice you make to reclaim your power. It's the moment you decide that the pain you've carried isn't your prison, it's your foundation. It's the moment you look at your scars and say, I'm proud of these. They mean I survived. It's the moment you stop waiting for someone to tell you it's okay to shine and decide to light up the world on your terms. They thought they knew you. They thought their words had the power to define you. They thought their laughter was the soundtrack to your defeat. But they were wrong. Because the person you've become, the person you're becoming, is unstoppable. You don't just carry strength, you are strength. You don't just hold power, you are power. And now, it's time to show them. Let's repeat it again. Louder this time. Are you going to let them define you? Are you going to let their words hold you? Or are you going to rise? This is your turning point. This is the moment where the narrative shifts. where the person they thought they knew disappears and the person you truly are steps forward, unapologetically, unrelentingly. You are no longer the seed in the dark. You are the bloom that breaks through the earth and reaches for the sun. And the best part, they're not ready for this. They're not ready for the person who's about to emerge. They're not ready for the fire in your eyes, the determination in your stride, the strength in your voice. They thought they buried you, but they're about to learn the truth. They didn't bury you, they planted something extraordinary. And now, you're about to rise so high, so fiercely, that their laughter will turn to silence, their doubts to awe. So what will it be? Will you let their doubts keep you down, or will you rise? Will you let their words echo in your mind, or will you let your voice drown them out? Will you stay in the dark, or will you step into the light? The choice is yours. It always has been. And right now, in this moment, I think you already know what you're going to choose. Rise, not for them, but for you. Rise because you can. Rise because you must. Rise because this is your story, and it's time to take the pen in your hands and write the ending you deserve. Rise and let the world see what happens when someone like you refuses to stay buried. This is your moment, your awakening, your turning point. So go ahead, rise. They're watching, and they'll never forget what they see. Pick up the broken pieces and build something unbreakable. That's your mission. Not someday, not when you feel ready. Now. Because the truth is, the world isn't waiting for you. It's spinning, moving, shifting, and if you don't step forward and claim your place, someone else will. This life, it isn't handed out. It's fought for. It's earned, and it's yours to take, but only if you're willing to take it. Yes, it happened. Let's start there. Let's face the truth head on. The pain, the betrayal, the doubt, they're real. What you went through wasn't fair. It wasn't deserved, and it hurt. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to define you. You are not the sum of what happened to you. You are the sum of what you choose to do next. So acknowledge it, feel it, own it, and then let it go. Because carrying that pain like a badge doesn't serve you anymore. You've learned the lessons it came to teach, and now it's time to leave it behind. Today is the day you stop waiting for them to apologize. Stop waiting for closure. Stop waiting for someone to come along and fix what they broke. They're not coming, and that's okay. Because you don't need their apology to move forward. You don't need their approval to start again. You don't need their validation to know your worth. Today is the day you take back your story. Not for them, but for you. Not because they've earned forgiveness, but because you've earned freedom. So here's the roadmap. It's not complicated, but it will demand everything you've got. First, make the decision. Not a half-hearted promise to yourself, but a real, unshakable commitment. Say it out loud if you have to. Today is the day I rise. Today is the day I stop letting them dictate my story. And once you've made that decision, there's no going back. This is your line in the sand, your turning point, your beginning. Next, take action. Not all at once, not in some sweeping, cinematic gesture, but step by step, piece by piece, you rebuild. Stronger, wiser, unstoppable. Maybe that means picking up a skill you've always wanted to learn. Maybe it's setting a boundary you've been afraid to enforce. Maybe it's simply getting out of bed when the weight of the world tells you to stay down. It doesn't matter how small the step seems. What matters is that you take it. Because every step forward is a step away from their laughter, their doubts, their attempts to hold you back. And as you take those steps, something incredible will happen. You'll realize that you're not just rebuilding, you're transforming. The broken pieces they left behind aren't just being glued back together. They're being reforged into something entirely new. Something they can't break, something unshakable. You'll look at yourself and see someone who isn't defined by the pain, but by the strength it took to rise above it. Someone who doesn't just survive, but thrives. Someone who took the ashes of what was and built something extraordinary. This is your story now, not theirs. Not anymore. They laughed at you because they feared what you could become. And now, they'll cry not out of pity, but out of awe. Because you didn't just rise, you soared. You turned every cruel word, every mocking laugh, every ounce of doubt into fuel for your fire. And now, that fire burns so brightly it can't be ignored. So here's the question, what are you waiting for? The world isn't going to pause for you. The opportunities aren't going to sit around waiting for you to feel ready. They're here, right now, and they're yours to claim. You've spent enough time doubting yourself, enough time hiding in the shadows, enough time letting their laughter echo in your mind. It's time to step forward. It's time to rise. It's time to soar. Look at your hands. They've carried the weight of the world, haven't they? They've held on to dreams, clung to hope, wiped away tears. And now, they're ready to build, to create, to shape a life that's bigger, bolder, and more beautiful than anything they ever imagined for you. Because they don't get to imagine your future, you do. and the future you're building. It's limitless. This is your moment. This is your time. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Right now. So take the broken pieces and build something unbreakable. Take the doubts and turn them into determination. Take the pain and turn it into power. Take the silence they left you with and fill it with your voice. Because this isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning of a masterpiece. Rise. Not for them, but for you. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove yourself right. Because the person you're becoming, they're unstoppable. They're unbreakable. They're undeniable. And when the world sees what you've built, what you've become, they'll understand what they tried to destroy. They'll understand that their laughter was never the end. It was the spark. And now you're the fire. So rise. Shine. The world isn't waiting. It's yours to take. This isn't just a story about survival. It's about transformation. It's about taking the pain that once held you down and using it to rise higher than you ever thought possible. It's about realizing that the struggle, the setbacks, the scars, they weren't the end of your story. They were the beginning of your evolution. Every tear you shed, every moment of doubt, every time you felt like giving up it all led you here, to this moment, to the realization that you are so much stronger, so much more powerful than you ever imagined. Think about it, diamonds are made under pressure. They don't emerge fully formed, shining and brilliant. They're created in the depths of the earth, under immense heat and crushing force. You were a diamond in the rough, and their pressure, their doubts, their ridicule, their cruelty only made you shine brighter. The more they tried to break you, the more resilient you became. And now, as you stand here, forged by fire, unbreakable, undeniable, they'll see what they tried so hard to bury. They'll see the brilliance they never could have predicted. But this isn't about them anymore. This isn't about their laughter, their doubts, or their attempts to hold you back. This is about you, the person you've become, the person you're still becoming. This is about the life you're building, the dreams you're chasing, the light you're shining into a world that once tried to dim you. This is your story now, and it's one only you can write. So what's the next chapter going to look like? You've walked through the fire. You've carried the weight of their words, their doubts, their laughter. And yet, here you are, still standing, still breathing, still fighting. That in itself is a victory. But this is more than survival, it's transformation. You're not the same person you were when this journey began. You're stronger, wiser, more resilient. And now it's time to use that strength, that wisdom, that resilience to create a life that's bigger, bolder, and more beautiful than anything you've ever dreamed of. So let me ask you, are you ready to show the world what they tried to destroy? Are you ready to take everything you've been through, all the pain, all the doubt, all the struggle, and turn it into something extraordinary? Are you ready to rise, to shine, to become the person you were always meant to be? Because the world is waiting. And it's not waiting for their laughter, their doubts, or their opinions. It's waiting for you. This is your moment. This is your time. You've been through the fire, and now you're shining brighter than ever. The world may not have been ready for you before, but it's about to see a light it can't ignore. So take a breath, take a step, and take your place. Because this isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning of something extraordinary. And it all starts with one question: are you ready?